Welcome back to the series of SAML SSO guides for enterprises. My name is Marcio, I am a solutions engineer. In this video, we are going to talk about if you should implement SAML SSO at the enterprise level or at the organization level. This is one of the commonly asked questions that we get as solutions engineers. I hope by the end of this video, you are in a better position to choose what's the best for your enterprise. Let's get started. The prerequisites for this guide are GitHub Enterprise Cloud Platform, so you must be on this one, no enterprise managed users. So we are also talking about here SAML 2.0 standard. So that's the standard that integrates with GitHub Enterprise Cloud, the one that's supported. And you need enterprise and org admin access because we're covering both enterprise and organization administration accounts. When talking about enterprise level implementation, you can find the SAML SSO settings at your enterprise account. It's located under settings and authentication security. So SAML SSO at the enterprise level is considered the most secure option compared to the organization because it's virtually going to apply the SAML SSO across the whole organizations inside this enterprise account. At the organization level, SAML SSO configuration can be found under organization settings. If you go to authentication security in your left sidebar, this is the most flexible implementation of SAML SSO. It's especially useful if your company is undergoing a slow rollout of SAML SSO. It's also important to highlight that some identity providers can build some features on top of SAML SSO if you have it enabled at the organization level. Let's jump right in to highlight some important differences. If your company has multiple subsidiaries with different identity providers, an organization level implementation is the most helpful. For example, subsidiary A is using Okta, while subsidiary B is using Azure AD. In this case, organization level implementation provides the most flexibility. A SAML SSO implementation at the enterprise level, however, provides a unified setup for all the organizations under your enterprise account. Another differentiator between these two levels of implementation is enforcement. Enforcement means that users must be logged in against your identity provider before they have access to your organization resources. When you implement SAML at the enterprise account level, this is automatically enforced for you. Users that have not been authenticated against your identity provider are going to be removed. Any users that are removed during this process, they can be reinstalled with the same rights that they had before within a 3 months time frame. So that's an important step to communicate across the organization, across the enterprise, and make sure that everybody is aware of this change. On the flip side, if you're enabling SAML SSO at the organization level, you still have the option to enforce it. This option appears under organizational settings as well. We are going to see this checkbox there, and you don't need to enforce it until you're ready to it. Unauthenticated users will not be removed until you check this box. So that's the difference between enabling and enforcing it. You can set a deadline for everyone inside the organization. You can communicate. And this is an option that we have for you to do it on your own pace with a slow rollout of SAML SSO within your company if that needs to be. Once you have enforced SAML, you can switch on enterprise implementation too. Now let's go hands-on. Let's assume I am a GitHub administrator and I have the mission of enabling SAML SSO. So I could do that at the organization level. And for that, I would go to settings and under settings, authentication security. So here I would click on enable SAML authentication and I would have to fill these fields, taking a look of how my identity provider implements SAML SSO. I would test that SAML configuration and that I will have put that in place. If I'd like to enforce it across all the organizations inside my enterprise account, I would have to go to the enterprise account level. So let me go back to the organization, and then I click on the enterprise account. At the enterprise account level, I would go down to settings, authentication security. Here, the difference that I'm going to require SAML SSO. So the same fields apply, but at the end, the result is going to be the enforcement of SAML SSO. The last differentiator I'd like to talk about is about feature availability. There are more features available if you do the implementation at the organization level than if you do that at the enterprise level. For example, team synchronization. So team synchronization is a feature that allows you to synchronize up to 5 identity provider groups with a GitHub team. Check out in the description box for more details on how this feature works. It's currently available on Azure AD at the enterprise and organization level. And for Okta, it's available only at the organization level. Now let's take a look on how team synchronization works hands-on. On my right side, I have an Azure AD instance with some groups predefined. On my left side, I have an organization at GitHub that has team synchronization enabled with this identity provider. So if I go here to Teams and want to create a new team, I'm going to see that I have the option to sync with identity provider groups. When I click on select groups, groups from my identity provider are going to be loaded, and team membership is going to be established as soon as I create a new team. Other important feature to talk about is SCIM. SCIM is going to allow you to provision or deprovision users through your identity provider. If SCIM provision is implemented in your organization, any changes in your organization membership in your identity provider is going to be reflected in GitHub. If you use SAML SSO without implementing SCIM, you won't have access to user provision and deprovision. For more information about how SCIM works, check out the description box below. So I hope this video is helpful for you to identify based on your needs and based on your identity provider, what you have available today for GitHub and how you can secure further your intellectual property. Thanks so much for tuning in.